Hey guys, subscribe for daily content, and if you're shopping for gear, make sure you check out the description for the newest items at some of the very best online retailers. There's also links for some of the items that I personally recommend. Thanks!
What's going on, YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I've got a really interesting knife review / knife overview to share with you guys. This is the Hinderer XM18 automatic in aluminum, which makes it substantially less expensive than the full titanium variation, and actually quite a bit less expensive than the standard XM18. There is a lot of good here with this knife. I didn't even realize until I clarified some things with Hinderer knives directly. I think a whole bunch of you will actually be really excited to hear the details of this knife. This knife will probably eventually be available in larger quantities. As of the time of this recording, it might be slightly tricky. I'll put a link in the description and you can check it and sign up for notifications if you want to. It does help my channel when you use those links, but that's entirely up to you. Thanks to Hinderer Knives for supplying this knife for review. Thanks to my patrons for supporting me. This is an XM18, but not everybody is familiar with the XM18. If you are familiar with my channel, you've seen me talk about this knife probably 40 times. I have a Hinderer playlist that is dedicated. There's probably more Hinderer content on that playlist than literally anywhere else on YouTube. So I'll try and link that playlist. If not, it's my Hinderer Knives playlist. You can check it out. Let's go ahead and do the specs for people who are not familiar. The overall length of the XM18 3.5 inch auto is 8 1/4 inches. Blade length is exactly 3.5 inches. And your cutting edge is a little tiny bit over 3 1/8. How about some size comparisons? Any custom scales in this section can be found down in the description under Original Goat and Others. Up against the 8010 in my own Excalibur, which was heavily inspired, if you didn't know, by the XM18 3.5 inch without the flipper. This knife, this profile here, was a huge inspiration on my own knife. This has become like my favorite Hinderer profile, so I really love, it translates so well into an auto in my opinion. But just some channel lore there. These knives are about 8.5 inches, so it's smaller, but by no means a small knife. This is over the line for what I consider to be full size, which is 8 inches, and it definitely feels like a full-size knife. Let's go ahead and put it up against the Spyderco PM2 and the Spyderco Para 3. It is very similar to the exact overall size of the Spyderco PM2. I think the PM2 is like 8.3, so really close. And then finally, let's put it up against the Benchmade Griptilian, or in this case, the Ritter Hogue, and the Hogue Deca. How is the action on this knife? This is an automatic knife. It is legally a switchblade, so be careful about that. If you plan to pick this knife up, you need to check your local laws. This knife operates via a button, which allows the coil spring inside of the pivot to release the blade. So, switchblade. How's the action? It's really good. It's exactly, so I have the titanium one here, which we're going to talk about. And these knives, these two don't fire quite as hard as like your Microtech Stitch. That thing, man, that thing fires hard. Doesn't need to. The only time firing power for me is an issue is when I'm holding the button down and I can pull the blade back and there's not enough spring to keep that blade going back to the open position. That's all that's required. Some people prefer to have more power, and some people don't like it as much. Many of you have, been vocal about this in my comment section. I understand where you're coming from. If a switchblade is too powerful, then it makes the user feel nervous every single time they push the button, like the thing is going to fly out of their hands, right? And we all, it varies with all of us. We're all more or less familiar. Grip strength is all, different, or how comfortable or natural your hand feels while you're gripping a knife and pushing a button and expecting the blade to fly out of the side. So this knife fires plenty hard enough. It feels extremely smooth. The button is not crunchy. It doesn't feel like I have to make it travel through some crusty tube to get the, you know what I mean? Like some autos feel a little crunchy. Everything here feels very high quality. It fires fairly hard and very smooth, and is not an auto that I would describe as intimidating to fire. It is a casual, comfy experience, but definitely still authoritative. Like when you fire it, you'll go, yep, that's a switchblade. It's not like, the cheapy smoke shop ones that go blop like a hot dog falling out of the bun. No, it's going to fire super hard. This fires exactly as hard as the titanium auto XM18. So if you have one of those, then you'll know exactly how hard it fires. I would say it still fires harder than the average automatic knife. It just feels really, really high quality because everything is, super low tolerances. So very good, very natural feeling. The button is recessed, which is great. Shouldn't have to worry about it going off in your pocket. And I prefer that versus putting a safety on there. I think that kind of kills the convenience purpose there. But anyways, action good is what I'm saying. Carry profile, thickness up against the Spyderco Para 3. It's, I think it's about as thick as a standard XM18. Let me get one of my other ones out here. Get the 3 now. I'll get just the standard version of it out. I believe, you know what? Am I wrong about this? Let's look. Boy, I think it's actually, you guys tell me what you think. I think, because this is a standard XM18 3.5 inch with a factory titanium scale on it, right? So this auto is actually slightly thinner. Is that the same with the titanium auto? Yes. Boy, it kind of looks like maybe my eyes are playing tricks on me, but no, maybe these are about the same. Let's put the the titanium auto up against the aluminum auto. Am I wrong? I'm really trying to see here. I think maybe my eyes are playing tricks on me. I honestly can't really tell. They both appear. I'm going to try and lay them down right beside each other and see here. It's really, really close. If the aluminum one is thinner, it's only slightly, but again, that could be a trick of the eye. But anyways, carry profile up against the Spyderco Para 3. It's slightly thicker. Length and height up against the PM2 and Para 3. I have always considered this profile to be a very comfortable profile to carry, and every time I've carried this knife, it's either been it's either been in the form of a G10 and titanium frame lock or a full titanium frame lock, right? And then occasionally the titanium auto. But I find this profile to be a full-size but, fairly comfortable and easy to carry profile. It's not going to take up any more room in your pocket than a PM2. And this particular version is going to be substantially lighter. I actually have some different examples of XM18, if you could guess, to compare with weight. So we have a G10 XM18, we have the titanium auto, and we have a standard full titanium, full thickness XM18, because that scale is not milled out. And then I have another XM18 with a milled out tie scale. So if you're curious, we can weigh all of them and find out. This knife utilizes aluminum. It's beautiful anodizing, by the way. This is super, such high quality anodizing. It does not feel chalky. It's very smooth and it feels so perfectly finished. It's like Hinderer Knives is so clearly, they've come so far since the XM18 I bought, which was a Gen 4. My first XM18 was a Gen 3, way back in 2013 or 14. I bought it on the secondary market. They have come such a long ways. And their knives were, I thought they were high quality back then, but this is night and day, right? So we have blade steel CBM 20 CV. We have aluminum. And here's where it gets interesting. So I held a magnet up to this thing during the unboxing and said, oh my gosh, I think the entire internals, all of the internals are titanium because nothing was magnetic. I always forget that there are non-magnetic steels. So Hinderer Knives clarified. I was half right. These liners here, these are actually titanium. That's pretty cool. We do not see that. It's such a weird thing to have titanium liners inside of an aluminum auto. That's neat. I like that. The hardware is 303 stainless, which is non-magnetic apparently. So that's why. There's the mystery, right? So what's the weight? Really, that's so crazy. I remember I weighed this in the I weighed this in the unboxing and still thought it was insane. It does not feel like it weighs 5 ounces. It weighs like it feels like it weighs, 4 to 4.5. But apparently it weighs 5 ounces. So let's do the rest of these. A standard XM18 with a titanium frame and a G10 front scale weighs 5.5 ounces. The full titanium automatic weighs 5.6 ounces, which is crazy. It's only a little bit more. The full titanium with the newer milled out XM18, full titanium scale that's milled out, weighs 6.1 ounces. And if you were to attach an old school scale that has no milling to an XM18, what does that weigh? 6.2 ounces. So it doesn't really, between these two, it's not really much of a difference. But yeah, at 5 ounces, that is the lightest full-size XM. And obviously there's some variation because of blade shape. A Spanto and a spear point, like these have a lot of material in them, right? But probably your clip points and some of your trailing point blades, some of those are probably going to have less material in them. So there's a little bit of variation there. But this is 5 ounces. So it really carries lighter, and it's probably because the reason I think that is because I expect a certain weight to be associated with an XM, and I've familiarized myself so thoroughly with this model over the years that it's just surprisingly light. It really does feel light. The balance on it is insanely good. That's another reason. You are right behind the pivot. It is perfect. The balance on this is so good. Okay, let's measure the blade stock thickness here real quick. Blade stock thickness of the XM18 3.5 inch auto should be about the same as the full size, 165 thousandths. Yep, that's exactly what it is, 165 thousandths. Hardware check. Let's get out my tools. As per usual, my tools are very inexpensive and very recommendable. You can find them right down in the section of my description that talks about the tools I use on this channel. But none of these it's not Torx. This automatic is doing the same thing as the, all past XMs. We have hex body screws, 3 of them, Phillips head for the for the pocket clip, and flathead for the pivot. Now, they make their own hardware. I have to imagine the reason that they are so they're just like insisting on keeping it the same is because the machines are making their hardware, and that's just how it is. It's also kind of an iconic Hinderer thing. It's slightly irritating, but I've taken apart so many of these, and it's not like a Phillips head is not uncommon. It's pretty common. I use a penny to adjust the pivot, which is what I would recommend if you don't have the Hinderer tool. Actually, even if you have the Hinderer tool, I'd recommend a penny. I think it works better. The copper is softer, so you're not going to dick up the pivot. And then, hex is super common. So it's only irritating to have to switch tools, I guess, but it's really easy to take apart. I kind of wish that Hinderer would just start make the exact same pivot. Make it exactly the same. Just make it a Torx head, right? Make the exact same screws, make them Torx. The Eclipse uses Torx, T6 for some reason, but just do these and make them T8, and then put at least some T6 Torx screws in it. If you made everything the same, it'd make the disassembly process even easier. But this is far from impossible to get inside. It's very easy. I would actually recommend not taking it apart because it is a side opening automatic. If you've ever taken apart a side opening automatic and tried to put it back together, then you know exactly why. Some people take that as a challenge and they're like, now I have to. Okay, knock yourself out. I don't like doing it. If you can keep from having to do it, I think that's better because it's not fun to put back together. But as long as you have the right tools for the job, you should be good to go. Okay, meat and potatoes time. It's the same thing as the titanium auto. It's just aluminum with titanium liners, right? We have this exact same blade. They didn't cheap out on anything. It's literally just a different material. This feels better in terms of balance and weight. I mean, it just is. It's not like there's a huge difference, right? The only reason to go for the titanium one is if you just really want titanium. The other reason that you might go for the titanium one is because it is available. These aluminum ones are not available right now for a couple of reasons. Number one, pretty new, and I'm sure they're trying to make more. I know, like people always say, how come they don't just make more? They can make more of them. Hell yeah, God, I bet they never thought of that. I bet they're just sitting there going, what do we do, guys? People want our knives and we We don't know what to do. They got dealer orders to fulfill. Do you know how many authorized dealers there are for Hinderer knives? You can go on their website and look at their list. Every dealer they work with, I'm sure, ordered a batch. They're trying to make them alongside the bajillion other models and hardware and scales that they make. Rick Hinderer is not Kershaw. He's not Spyderco. He can't snap his fingers and, infinity gauntlet a whole bunch of things into existence. It doesn't work like this. It's still a fairly small batch operation, even though he's a much bigger entity than he used to be, right? So yeah, that's sorry if I hurt your feelings. That's a dumb thought. It's in their best interest to make as many as possible, and I'm sure that they're trying. But that's a big reason to buy the titanium ones, because it's available. The other reason that these are not available is because they are $350. Right. Everything else here, like if you wanted to hear me say the fit and finish is really good, it's really good. It's obviously good. The centering's good. The lockup is good. It's just as great as the titanium one. It's the same thing. It's really, really great. The finish is great. The blades, obviously, they're thick behind the edge, but I think their factory edges are great. Some people say, they've gotten some that are, not perfectly sharp. I'll just use this one here to showcase the edge, right? Have you ever heard that the Hinderer knives don't slice? They do. So it depends on the person, obviously. If you have one of those people who are like, let me demonstrate the thickness of a Hinderer knife. As you can see, it's not very sharp. Somebody like that, you don't have to listen to their opinion because it's bad. Hinderer knives definitely do come sharp, but their geometry is sometimes thicker than some people would prefer, which can hinder, no pun intended, the performance of the blade in certain environments or cutting certain materials, right? That's generally what it is that they're trying to caveman out of their face hole. But anyways, the other reason that these are not available is because of $350, making it $300 less than the titanium auto and $75 less than the standard Hinderer XM18 with the G10 front scale and titanium frame lock side. Many people would, I can tell you right now, would automatically just say, I do not need the titanium side. I will gladly pay $75 less. I can't blame them. This aluminum's really nice. It's obviously not nearly as expensive to machine as the titanium ones, right? Titanium is a more expensive material, and it has higher costs associated with it to machine. So yeah, do I think that's a fair price? Kershaw makes aluminum knives for $150. I'm doing a lot of imitating today, aren't I? Yeah, but Kershaw is a completely different entity. We cannot compare. You can get a Kershaw Launch 16 in aluminum and Magna Cut for what, $170? Okay, so Kershaw is mass producing knives. These are definitely not hand-tuned, hand-assembled. They are definitely not making absolutely everything in-house. They're making most of it, enough to say USA, but they're not doing it in-house. Essentially, their production costs are substantially lower. So if you don't care about the small business aspect of it or the extra level of fit and finish, if you've handled Hinderer knives, they are substantially more polished. It's not like people have to be a professional to know that there's a difference between a Hinderer knife and a Kershaw knife. Kershaw makes a good knife, but if you handle them both, you go, oh, okay, one of these is clearly nicer. So ultimately what I'm saying is that Kershaw is not the appropriate comparison. It's not the same tier. This would be ultra high-end production. You could also classify a lot of Hinderer knives as mid-tech, depending on your definition. So a much better comparison, right? Smaller batch companies like ProTech. Microtech's not a small batch company, but their processes are very, very similar, and their in-house, how much of the knife is made in-house, I believe is also 99%. So if we were to compare, for example, the Stitch, which is aluminum, steel internals in M390, those are about $400. So this is $50 less than that. While it is about $50 more than a lot of ProTechs, at least some ProTechs are actually $250, $275. It's also kind of, there's a lot of ProTech products that are similar price, right? So I think in the territory that it realistically is in, because these are not, it's not like they're more mass produced than other Hinderer knives. They're made with the same level of quality, the same processes, right? They cannot pump out 1,000 of these a day. It's not possible because of how they are made. But the end result is a knife that, while probably just as functional as a Kershaw or some knives that are less expensive, it is clearly a much more premium feeling product, which sounds like a silly thing to pay extra money for if you're new, but it's pretty common. I mean, knife people, especially who climb the ladder, so to speak, are definitely interested in buying products that have more premium finishes or more premium tolerances. Everything lines up a little better, right? Like everything feels a little better. It's one of those. I mean, it's not a different thing. You know, it's not a new thing as far as like human beings go. We do that. Many of us do that, right? It's not important to everybody, but it is for some people. So taking all of that into consideration, do I think the price is fair? Yeah, I actually do. You know, and a lot of people say, well, he's like a Hinderer nut. And they sent him this knife, so of course he's going to say that. I can be a Hinderer nut, and they can send me a free knife. And at the same time, what I'm saying about the knife can be authentic, right? It's not that black and white. It's pretty easy to do. And yeah, I legitimately do think that. Can you get a good USA automatic knife for less money? Absolutely you can. Is the price on this Hinderer knife fair, considering the actual competition for it? Yes, it is. And regardless of my opinion on this, I mean, even if I had never reviewed this knife is going to sell out either way because people are getting their hands on essentially a full-size XM18 for $75 less than what they would normally have to pay. So, I mean, I just feel like so many people don't even care, like, oh, it's aluminum, right? It's not like it's necessarily inferior. It just costs less. So, yeah, this is a great knife. I think it's awesome. It's not going to be for everybody. $350, I mean, no matter, you know, how you spin it, it's a lot of money for a pocket knife. But for Hinderer fans, you know, for American knife fans, for automatic knife fans, right, people who regularly shop in this tier of knives, yeah, this thing is awesome. I really, really like it, and I think that you'll enjoy it too. For people who are just looking for a good pocket knife, obviously no. I mean, that's a lot of money. Like start at the budget end. Like that's where you want to be. But yeah, if you're shopping for this knife and you're wondering, should I pick it up? Yeah, you should. It's really nice. I like it. It's going to go in my most recommended knives playlist. It's also going to go in my Hinderer knives playlist, along with all my other Hinderer content. So that's going to be it today, guys. Very cool. Please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like. So check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.